Hi, Chris from Dynojet here. Today we're going to install a Power Commander 5 on this Suzuki M109. We'll go ahead and get started with the seat. Next we're going to remove the side covers from both sides. We have a push pin at the top and a 4mm Allen bolt at the bottom. After popping them loose from the rear, we can unhook it from the tank. We can do the same thing on the left side, but we'll also need to disconnect the seat latch cable. Next we'll remove the fuel tank. We'll unbolt the rear of the fuel tank, lift it up so we can disconnect the fuel pump electrical connector, the tank vent line, and the fuel line. If we scoot it back a little bit, we can come to the gauge connector. We'll disconnect that, and now we can lift the tank up. Next we'll need to remove these air boxes from both sides of the engine. We have 2 bolts holding them on. We'll loosen the air scoop from the intake plenum right here. Then we can pop the box loose, disconnect the breather line at the back of the box, and then we can pull the scoop off the intake. Next we'll need to remove this intake assembly from the top of the engine. We're going to loosen both of the map sensors from their brackets, disconnect the electrical connector from the idle air control valve, and we'll disconnect the breather tube at the rear. We'll loosen both of the hose clamps on top of both throttle bodies, and then we should be able to lift the entire assembly off. Then we can unplug the pair valve hose. Using the supplied Velcro, I've secured the module right here behind the left-hand side cover. I've routed the harness forward. The ground wire with the 6mm ring lug comes here into the battery compartment, and I secure that to the negative post of the battery. Then I route the rest of the harness forward, following alongside the stock harness to up here at the throttle bodies. So here's the rest of the Power Commander harness up here by the throttle bodies. First connection I'm going to come to is for my rear fuel injector, and that's the one on the left. I'm going to unplug the rear fuel injector, and I'm going to plug the Power Commander harness with the yellow colored wires in line with the rear fuel injector. The fuel injector over here on the right hand side for the front cylinder, I'm going to disconnect that, and I'm going to plug the Power Commander harness leads with the orange colored wires in line with it. Now I'll need to make sure my harness is secured so it doesn't interfere with throttle body movement, and I also want to make sure it doesn't interfere with me reinstalling the intake plenum. The last set of connections I'm going to come to is my bike's throttle position sensor. Now I want to make sure I'm connecting in line with the primary throttle position sensor. That's the one here with the gray connector and the gray sensor. Very commonly people will accidentally plug the Power Commander in line with the secondary TPS with the black connector. Make sure you're plugging in line here with the gray connector. We'll just disconnect that, and we'll plug the Power Commander leads in line. Now that my Power Commander harness is routed and plugged in correctly, I want to go ahead and reassemble the bike. I would stress as much caution as possible when reinstalling this intake plenum. You certainly want to make sure that the boots go securely over the throttle bodies, otherwise you could interfere with secondary throttle blade movement, and that could cause FI lights and other issues.